What's up, guys? Welcome back. I know has been a fat minute since I've been here to talk to you guys. Today's video is not true crime and it's not makeup. I am doing my very first movie review slash like movie explanation thing. Now, warning, there will be spoilers. So if you want to watch this movie on your own without me spoiling it for you, please click out of this video. Don't say I didn't warn you. So today, we are going to be talking about the Conjuring Universe. Yes, which kind of talks about, like, this creepy-ass motherfucker right here, Annabelle. And, like, all of the cases surrounding Ed and Lorraine Warren. For those who don't know, Ed and Lorraine Warren are two people who actually did exist, who were, like, demonologists, and they dealt with demons in the Amityville Horror House, which that is actually a really good movie, so go watch that. It's not like linked into the Conjuring universe, but they do talk about it a little bit. It has its own standalone movie, which is really good. I recommend going to watch that if you're kind of into that kind of thing. But let's get started. So when I started watching the movies, I started to realize that the Conjuring universe is a lot like Marvel. They release movies and they kind of follow a different, like, chronological order chronologically, and you kind of have to figure that one out on your own. So there are right now there are 6 movies in the Conjuring universe. In September of this year, there will be a 7th one called The Conjuring 3: The Devil Made Me Do It. And I'm super excited to go see that because Conjuring movies. Love them. So the first movie in this series is The Nun, which was released in 2018, and the events that take place happen in 1952 in a monastery in Romania. This monastery has been plagued by a demonic nun named Valak. The 3 main characters are Father Burke. He is a specialist in the occult. Sister Irene, who is a nun-to-be, or, like, she hasn't taken her vows yet. And Frenchie, who is, like, some Canadian French guy. Super weird. But his name is Maurice. His real name is Maurice. Keep that in mind for the end of the movie. So these 3 go to investigate the nun, Valak. And they chase, like, it's good. I mean, it's better to watch it at night, obviously. But this just goes into the backstory of who Valak is and, like, what happened to her and stuff, which is kind of helpful, especially considering the fact that, especially for people who saw The Conjuring 2, which came out in 2013, they were very confused about who Valak was. A little fun fact about the actress who plays Sister Irene. The internet seems to believe that Irene may be Lorraine Warren herself or someone related to her. The actors who play both characters are actually sisters in real life, and they look alike. The characters are about the same age, both deeply religious and experience visions. So, I will leave that up to you guys to decide. This hasn't been proven, but keep this in mind, especially if you go, like, watch it in chronological order and start to connect the dots a little bit. The second movie in this is Annabelle Creation, which came out in 2017. Most of the events are set in 1955. So, like, the main events of Annabelle Creation are set in 1955, which is 3 years after the events of the things in Romania. It tells the story of a doll maker named Samuel Mullins and his wife. They are actually the creators of the Annabelle doll. After the closing of a local orphanage, they opened their own to 6 orphans and Sister Charlotte. One thing they said is do not go into this room, which is the room of their dead daughter who died 12 years prior to 1955. So that's like 1943, I believe, if I did my math correct. Because they are very attached to it. But they don't really say why. They say just don't go in this room, you'll be fine. The door is supposedly locked. But, this being a horror movie, a young girl named Janice, who is stricken by polio, finds a way in and releases a once contained evil, which is like the demon inside the Annabelle doll. Repeatedly stated throughout the 3 Annabelle movies is that the doll is a conduit, which is basically like it's there to like help the evil find a way to possess a human soul, aka host. So keep that in mind for the second Annabelle movie because those are huge events that happen. Even for instance, there's a scene in the movie where Sister Charlotte is talking to Mr. Mullins, and he pulls out a photograph of her and 3 nuns, which are actually from the monastery in Romania before these whole events happen and all of them die. And if you look closely in the corner, I had to go watch this a couple times, but you will see Valak. And then the third movie in this is the original Annabelle. It is set 12 years after Annabelle Creation. And so the movie begins with a young doctor who gives his pregnant wife an Annabelle doll. Because she's like a really weird, creepy doll collection, which I think is super weird. And I don't like porcelain dolls. I don't like them. They're scary. So I'm going to make this clear that the Annabelle doll is super rare. About 100 of them have been made in this movie universe. So a question that I kept having when I would watch the movies is, where are they getting these dolls if there's only 100 of them made? It's super weird. So yeah. To go more into this, how the doll like follows people, is that at the end of Annabelle Creation, the girl named Janice she ran away after being trapped in the house. She managed to escape, runs away, finds her way to an orphanage. She's now going under the name Annabelle because she's still possessed by the demon and stuff. And so, 12 years later, Annabelle Higgins, who was once formerly Janice, has run away to join a cult. And so 2 years before we see the movie, she had run away. She comes back, kills her parents, and gets caught by John, or whatever the doctor's name is. I kind of forgot. Whatever the young doctor's name is, he walks in on their crime scene. So they come in and attack Mia, and Mia, who's pregnant with their daughter. And when they go into the nursery, Annabelle finds the doll. She kills herself in a sacrificial ritual, which transfers the demon that she once had in her back into the doll and causes the whole incident. A tragedy happens, their apartment catches fire. forcing them to throw away Annabelle and leave. But Annabelle follows him. That's fun. A bunch of things happen. At the end of the movie, Annabelle disappears but reappears in a antique shop. That's fun. Which actually, a little fun fact about Annabelle. So in real life, the Annabelle doll is not a porcelain. It is a Raggedy Ann doll. But for licensing reasons and to make it scarier, the creators made this creepy ass motherfucker. So yeah. This is the only cover that I have because I haven't had time to take it out and put it on my door yet. So moving on. The next movie is the original Conjuring, which is the first time we actually see Ed and Lorraine. We see them briefly in the two Conjuring movies and the two Annabelle movies. They get like a 5-minute thing, but this is the first time that we see them, and this movie kind of focuses on them. It is, like I said, it's the first movie to get released, but it's the fourth movie chronologically. They so Ed and Lorraine come to help hold on. The Perrin family. So this is also one of the actual cases of Ed and Lorraine. The Perrin family has moved into an old farmhouse and has begun to experience violent and demonic paranormal attacks. We actually learn that one of the ghosts that's possessing this family is a witch named Bathsheba. She hung herself in the big tree. If you watch the movie, I recommend watching these movies, guys, because my explanation is just confusing. So they hang themselves. She hung herself after being caught sacrificially sacrificing her son, who was a week old at the time. We also see a bit of Annabelle, and we also meet Judy, their daughter, for the first time. James Wan actually directed this movie. So, James Wan is a huge movie producer in the horror world. I recommend going to watch a lot of his movies. Annabelle Comes Home is, I think, the second to the last one. This movie came out in 2019, so Annabelle Comes Home shows the immediate aftermath of The Conjuring. Annabelle Comes Home shows the immediate aftermath of the Warrens taking Annabelle's from the nurses who were gifted the doll and now claim that it's a source of paranormal activity. The story jumps into the future about a year. About a year after the events in The Conjuring, and we see the Warrens hire a babysitter named Mary Ellen to watch their daughter Judy. Because babysitters never have a quiet evening in horror films, Annabelle and several other spirits and demons locked in the artifact room accidentally escape the course of a single night, all while the Warrens are away from home. So this movie mainly focuses on Judy, their daughter, and how she deals with all of this. Deals with her parents being demonologists and them being away all the time and people not believing in this, and while she deals with the spirits that haunt her house and stuff. And I think it's really good because it takes a break from the Warrens themselves, but still talks about how other people have to deal with it. The Curse of La Llorona. It's set in 1977 and follows a widowed social worker named Ana Garcia. The reason it's tied in with this Conjuring universe is because the priest in this film, named Father Perez, actually appeared in Annabelle. and he tried to take the doll away from Mia and her husband, but was violently attacked by Annabelle, the Annabelle spirit. We also hear about the Warrens briefly, and that's kind of why. So it's not really a big thing in the Curse of Love and the Annabelle. But other than that, it's part of a standalone. It's more like a standalone movie, but because of those two things that I just mentioned, it is tied into it. The Curse of La Llorona is the one movie out of the Conjuring universe that I personally haven't seen yet. Super excited to see it. I've been chasing it down in Target and Walmart for months, and I still haven't been able to find it. The Conjuring 2 picks up with the Warrens in the aftermath of the investigation into the Amityville murders and the media firestorm that started, because at this time the media was like, this is bullcrap. This isn't real. You guys are just phonies and all of that stuff. So in this movie, they travel to London to go take care of a single mother and her family. They had begun to experience paranormal things that led to Janet getting possessed. The Conjuring 2 really, really ties into The Nun, because this is when we realize that Lorraine Warren has a emotional tie to Valak. I don't really want to give this away, but she appears a bunch. Big thing happens and stuff. So, this next installment to the Conjuring Universe is supposed to be released in, I believe, when is it supposed to be released? I think the 11th of September. Yeah, September 11th, 2020 is when the third Conjuring movie is supposed to come out, which is called The Devil Made Me Do It. We see Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga return to their roles as Ed and Lorraine Warren. The little snippet that I found from this, it's based on the trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, who proclaimed his innocence in a murder trial in 1981, claiming he was possessed by a demon. So, super exciting. Now it's kind of like my little personal thing based off the movies. So let's start off. I'm going to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10 and explain why. So The Nun, I give it about a 6 out of 10. The scary, it wasn't all that scary. I mean, it's just a bunch of jump scares and chasing shadows for 75 minutes, which for some people is really, really good, but for me, it was kind of boring. I mean, the only reason I watched it was because I was with friends and I kind of watched it. It's not my personal favorite out of this, but the acting was great. Just the jump scares and the CGI and all of that stuff wasn't the best in my opinion. Like, I liked the actors and their acting was really good, and they really brought these characters to life, but it was just like the special effects and stuff that wasn't all that scary. Annabelle Creation. Annabelle Creation, all of the Annabelle movies are terrifying in my opinion, because porcelain dolls are unnatural and they're scary. But Annabelle Creation gets an 8 out of 10 because it has a good storyline, the actors are amazing, it's very emotional, and it brings a lot of depth to it in my mind. And so I like how it explains the original Annabelle. So I really like that one. The original Annabelle gets also an 8 out of 10 for the same reasons. It's very emotional, it had good backstory. Annabelle itself was just terrifying. Like, not even gonna deal with that. The ending was really sad. So, it gets an 8 out of 10 for good acting, for good scariness. a good emotional backstory. The Conjuring gets a 7 out of 10 because it was scary. It was scary, but not scary enough in my mind. The acting, so a thing that I'm gonna notice is that the acting out of all of them is phenomenal. Like, these actors are literally like pushed to their limits in my mind. Like, there are kids younger than me doing a bunch of like crazy ass motherfucking shit that I couldn't even put myself through emotionally. Like, imagine having to act like you got fucking possessed by a demon. I've done theater for half of my life and can't even do that shit. The fact that it's directed by James Wan, in my mind, gives it a huge scare factor. So, I say about a 7. Annabelle Comes Home, a 6 out of 10. It was more suspenseful than it was scary. I mean, and it was kind of eh. I mean, I kind of expected for the fact that it got released in 2019 for it to have a lot of scariness, and it didn't. So I guess my expectations were too high. I kind of think it's kind of pointless, like it doesn't really tie into anything. I mean, it's kind of just there. But yeah. The Curse of La Llorona, I can't rate this one because I haven't seen it. So I heard that the ratings were super good. It was a good movie. I've seen the trailer for it, so the trailer is pretty good, I would say. So yeah. The Conjuring 2, it was good. I will give it about a 7 out of 10 because it was very scary, and it was like, it was scary because like you thought that this old not demonic, but tortured old man was torturing this little girl, and you're like, what the fuck? This is messed up. So it was good on the scary level. The acting again was phenomenal. I loved it. I just really like horror movies, so my scales are going to be up on the higher side because I love horror movies. Anyway, that's all I want to say. That these are just my opinion. If you want to go watch these movies, make your own opinion, please do that. Don't take my opinion for it. Also, I'm gonna start doing this thing. I will. If y'all leave comments in the if you guys leave comments, I'll start doing a shout out, comment shout out. Anyway, I love y'all. Thank you for the support. I'll see y'all in the next one.